Rain hit the cracked window like tiny fists. Inside a rundown apartment in Newark, Emily Carter tried to cover her belly as her husband, Tyler Briggs, screamed again. His breath reeked of cheap whiskey, his fists heavier than words. "You think you can hide my money, huh?" he yelled, throwing her against the kitchen counter. The sound of breaking glass mixed with her stifled cry. She was 6 months pregnant. Emily's hoodie was soaked in blood from a cut on her lip. She didn't fight back, not because she couldn't, but because every time she did, he aimed lower. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "Please, Tyler, the baby." He slapped her again, sending her sprawling. Outside, the street was silent. Neighbors heard everything, but no one came. It was easier to pretend not to hear. In the corner, a small clock blinked 12:43 a.m. Her phone lay shattered on the floor, just like her hope. She could feel her baby kick weakly, a reminder that she couldn't give up, not tonight. Tyler grabbed his coat and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. She waited until she was sure he was gone. Then, shaking, she crawled across the floor, searching for something. Anything that still worked. Her fingers brushed a small, torn business card beneath the fridge. A name was printed on it, Lucas Hale. She remembered. A year ago, she'd been working the night shift at a highway diner when a man in a gray suit stumbled in after a car accident. She called 911, held his bleeding arm, and talked to him until help came. Before leaving, he pressed this very card into her hand. "If you ever need help, call me." She thought he was just being polite. Now, with blood on her hands and her body shaking, his name looked like the only thing keeping her alive. She found an old phone Tyler had hidden in the drawer. The screen was cracked, but it lit up. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number on the card. Each ring felt like a countdown to the end. On the 5th ring, a deep, calm voice answered. Lucas Hale speaking. Emily's breath broke. "Please, don't hang up," she whispered, voice shaking. "It's Emily, the girl from the diner. I'm bleeding. He hit me again." For a second, silence filled the line. Then Lucas's tone changed, sharp, commanding. "Where are you?" Her voice was barely audible. "Newark, 18th Street, apartment 4B. I'm sending someone right now. Lock the door. Don't move." She clutched the phone, tears falling. She had no idea who this man truly was. No idea that the name on that card belonged to one of the richest men in New York, or that her desperate midnight call was about to set off a revenge that would shake Wall Street. Because at that moment, 3 CEO brothers were waking up, and someone's life was about to change forever. The door slammed open again just before dawn. Tyler's boots thudded against the wooden floor, echoing through the dark apartment. Emily froze. She was sitting on the couch, a blanket wrapped around her, holding her phone close like a lifeline. The call with Lucas Hale had ended an hour ago. He said help was coming. But what if he'd lied? What if Tyler found out before they arrived? Tyler's eyes were red and drunk. "Who were you talking to?" he barked. His voice carried that dangerous calm, the one that always came before he lost control. Emily didn't answer. Her pulse hammered in her ears. He snatched the blanket away. "You called someone, didn't you?" He grabbed her phone, saw the cracked screen, the faint trace of an outgoing call. His face twisted. "Who the hell is Lucas Hale?" Emily's heart stopped. He had seen the name. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Tyler grabbed her wrist, twisting it until she screamed. "You cheating on me with some rich guy? You think you can leave me?" His grip tightened. She cried out, "Stop! Please, I'm pregnant." But the word pregnant didn't stop him. It enraged him. He shoved her hard against the wall. Pain shot through her lower back, and she slid down, clutching her belly. "You and that kid ruined my life," he shouted. He kicked the table, breaking the cheap lamp. Sparks flickered in the darkness. The baby moved inside her. Emily gasped, both from fear and pain. She felt warmth between her legs, a slow, terrifying trickle. Blood. Her vision blurred. "Please, stop," she whispered. "You're hurting the baby." Tyler's hand froze for a second. Then, as if realizing what he'd done, he stepped back. But the moment of hesitation turned to rage again. He pointed a finger at her, voice shaking. "If you call anyone again, I'll make sure you and that thing inside you disappear." He stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and passed out. Emily stayed on the floor, too weak to move. Her entire body shook. She pressed her hands to her belly and whispered, "Hold on, baby. Please, just hold on." Minutes crawled by like hours. The clock read 5:17 a.m. when she finally heard the faint sound of tires screeching outside. Through the window, headlights flashed once, twice. Like a signal, her heartbeat quickened. Maybe it was Lucas's men. She tried to stand, but her knees buckled. She grabbed the wall for balance and stumbled toward the door. Every step felt like walking through broken glass. Then a soft knock. "Emily?" A man's voice, calm but firm. Not Tyler's. She recognized it from the call. "It's Lucas Hale. You're safe now. Open the door." Her breath hitched. She turned the lock with trembling fingers. The door opened to reveal 3 men in dark coats. The tallest, Lucas, looked exactly as she remembered. Steady eyes, a face that didn't belong in her broken world. Behind him stood 2 others, Adrian, holding a medical kit, and Noah, scanning the room with sharp, restless energy. Lucas took one look at her and froze. Her face was bruised, her hands shaking, and blood stained her pajama pants. "Adrian," he said, voice low but deadly. Adrian was already kneeling beside her, checking her pulse. "She's lost blood, but she's stable for now," he said. Noah's jaw clenched. "Where's the bastard?" "In there," Emily whispered. Lucas turned toward the bedroom door, his tone like ice. "Wake him." The moment the lock clicked open, the life Tyler Briggs knew was over, and the real revenge had just begun. Tyler woke to the sound of glass breaking. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Then a flashlight beam hit his face, and 3 men in black coats stood in his bedroom. The tall one in front, Lucas Hale, looked calm, but his eyes were the kind that didn't forgive. "What the hell? Who are you?" Tyler yelled, scrambling to sit up. Lucas's voice was low and sharp. "The man whose call you shouldn't have answered." Before Tyler could react, Noah Hale stepped forward and grabbed him by the shirt, pinning him against the wall. "You like hitting pregnant women, huh?" he hissed. His grip tightened until Tyler's face turned red. Adrian, kneeling beside Emily in the living room, called out, "Lucas, she's bleeding through her clothes. We need to move her now." Emily sat against the wall, dazed, a hand on her belly. Her hoodie was soaked through with blood, but her eyes were focused on the card still clutched in her hand. That small, torn piece of paper was the only thing that had kept her alive. Lucas turned to her, his expression softening for just a heartbeat. "You called me," he said quietly. "I didn't know who else to call," she whispered. He nodded once, then looked back at Tyler, voice turning to ice. "You laid your hands on a woman carrying life. You're done." Noah released Tyler just long enough for Lucas's security team to drag him out of the bed. Tyler kicked and cursed. "You can't just come in here. I'll call the cops." Lucas stepped closer, so close Tyler could smell the faint cologne, Dior Sauvage, the kind of scent Tyler had only seen on commercials. "Please do," Lucas said coldly. "And when they arrive, tell them why your wife is bleeding on the floor. Tell them what you did to her stomach." Tyler's voice cracked. "She's lying. She hit herself." Noah cut him off with a punch so fast it sent him sprawling. "That's for every time she begged you to stop." Adrian lifted Emily gently. She cried out in pain, clutching her belly. "It's okay," he murmured. "We've got you now. Just breathe." Outside, a black Mercedes S-Class waited with its lights on, parked right under the flickering street lamp. The city was still dark, silent except for the hum of engines. Lucas held the door open while Adrian helped Emily in. He placed a clean white blanket around her shoulders and told the driver, "Ritz-Carlton Clinic, private wing. Now." As the car pulled away, Emily's eyes fluttered. "Who are you people?" Lucas looked out the window, his reflection overlapping with hers. "Just 3 men who owe you a life." Her voice trembled. "Owe me?" He met her eyes. "A year ago, you saved mine. You don't remember me, do you?" She blinked, trying to focus. A flash of memory hit her. The diner, the blood, the man she'd held upright until the ambulance came. "You were the one with the broken arm." Lucas gave the faintest nod. "And I promised I'd return the favor if you ever needed help." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I never thought you meant it." He turned away, jaw tight. "I always mean what I say." Behind them, in the apartment they'd just left, Tyler was being handcuffed by private security. His rage turned to panic as he shouted after the car disappearing into the rain. "You'll regret this. You don't know who you're dealing with." Lucas didn't look back. "Neither does he," Noah muttered. Because by sunrise, the story of one poor pregnant woman was about to become a corporate war no one saw coming. The Mercedes S-Class glided through the empty streets of Manhattan, slicing the rain like a silver blade. Emily sat in the back seat, trembling, wrapped in a hospital blanket. Her head rested against the window, city lights blurring into streaks of gold and blue. Every bump in the road sent a sharp pain through her stomach, reminding her how close she'd come to losing everything. Adrian Hale sat beside her, monitoring her pulse with steady hands. "We're almost there," he said gently. "Just breathe. Don't fight it." In the front seat, Lucas spoke into his phone, voice clipped and controlled. "Dr. Moreno, PREPA private suite. 6 months pregnant, abdominal trauma, blood loss moderate to severe. I want the best OB on call in 10 minutes. "Already done," came the reply from the other end. Grace Moreno, the Hale family's trusted ER nurse. Noah Hale, behind the wheel, pressed harder on the gas. "What's our cover story this time?" he asked, eyes fixed on the slick highway. Lucas's answer was immediate. "No cover story. We're done hiding." Emily turned to him weakly. "You're not afraid of what people will say?" Lucas met her gaze in the reflection of the window. "I stopped caring what people say the night you saved me." She blinked, confused. "Saved you?" He didn't elaborate. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, blood-stained silver pen, the same one she had used to press against his wound that night in the diner. "You stopped me from bleeding out. Tonight, it's my turn." Her lips quivered. "I thought you forgot." "I don't forget debts," Lucas said quietly, "especially not ones written in blood." The car turned sharply into a private entrance beneath the Ritz-Carlton's medical annex. Security guards opened the doors before the tires even stopped. Adrian lifted Emily into his arms and carried her inside, where bright white light replaced the city's shadows. Grace Moreno, the nurse, met them at the elevator, her eyes soft but focused. "We've got her room ready. Vitals first, then ultrasound." Lucas stayed just outside the glass doors of the suite, his jaw clenched as he watched the medical team work. He wasn't used to feeling powerless. Deals, stocks, takeovers, he could control all of it. But not this. Not her pain. Noah appeared beside him, arms crossed. "We're keeping the cops out of this, right?" "For now," Lucas replied. "We handle it our way." Adrian stepped out moments later, pulling off his gloves. "She's stable. The baby's heartbeat is weak but consistent. Another hour and we might have lost both." Lucas exhaled slowly. "Then we make sure it never happens again." Noah cracked his knuckles. "I'll dig into Tyler Briggs. Bank accounts, records, anything. If there's money behind what he did, we'll find it." "Do it," Lucas said, "and make it loud." He looked through the glass again. Emily lay on the bed, her eyes closed, face pale but peaceful. For the first time in months, she wasn't afraid. When she opened her eyes, she saw Lucas still standing there. Drenched, silent, watching like a sentinel. Their eyes met through the glass. "Why are you helping me?" she mouthed. Lucas's expression softened. "Because you once helped me when no one else would." Outside, thunder rolled across the skyline. Lucas turned to Noah and said quietly, "He hit a pregnant woman. That's not a crime to forgive. That's a declaration of war." And somewhere in New Jersey, Tyler Briggs had no idea that the men he just provoked could destroy his entire world before morning. The sky over Manhattan was the color of cold steel when Lucas Hale stepped out onto the rooftop terrace of the Ritz-Carlton's private wing. The city stretched below him, Fifth Avenue glittering like a river of diamonds, steam rising from manholes, and the hum of life that never slept. But tonight, Lucas wasn't thinking about markets or mergers. He was thinking about the woman lying 2 floors below, fighting to keep her unborn child alive. Adrian joined him. Still in his scrubs, exhaustion etched under his eyes. "She's stable," he said. "The baby's heart is strong, but she's anemic. She's been starved, dehydrated, abused for months." Lucas's jaw tightened. "He'll pay for every bruise." Noah came up last, tossing a phone onto the glass table. "And I've got something," he said, pacing like a caged lion. "Your favorite scumbag's been busy. Tyler Briggs. He's been gambling online, using his wife's social security number to open fake accounts. He owes more than 30 grand to a guy named Mr. Fallon. Guess who that is? An accountant from Garrow and Steele, the same firm that launders money for the Briggs Construction Group." Adrian frowned. "So this wasn't just domestic abuse. Someone's paying him to keep Emily quiet." Lucas stared out at the skyline. "She's connected to something bigger. Maybe she saw something. Maybe she doesn't even know what she knows." Noah slammed his fist against the railing. Doesn't matter. He hit a pregnant woman. We're not talking court cases. We end this. Adrian turned sharply. Noah, we're not criminals. Noah smirked. We don't have to be. We're CEOs. We destroy people legally. Lucas glanced at both of them. Enough. We do this my way. Clean, quiet, permanent. He sat down, taking out a Mont Blanc pen and scribbling notes on the back of an envelope, the same brand he used to sign billion-dollar deals. Noah, you dig into the money trail. I want names, transfers, shell accounts, everything. Adrian, you stay on Emily. She doesn't leave that room. She's not just a patient anymore. She's family. Adrian's eyes softened. Lucas, you barely know her. Lucas didn't look up. I know enough. She risked her life for a stranger once. That's more than most people do for blood. Noah grinned darkly. So what's the plan? Lucas leaned back, the faintest smirk forming. First, we strip Tyler Briggs of every dollar he has. Then we expose whoever paid him. Finally, we make sure they watch their empire burn. The three brothers stood there, the wind whipping through their coats. To anyone else, they were the golden sons of Wall Street, heirs to the Hale Empire. But tonight, they looked like something else entirely, Avengers in tailored suits. Downstairs, Emily stirred awake. Grace, the nurse, checked her vitals. You're safe here, she said gently. Emily's voice was a whisper. I don't even know who they are. Grace smiled softly. Let's just say, they're not men you ever want as enemies. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted it to stop. Grace squeezed her hand. Sometimes the only way to make it stop is to fight back. On the rooftop, Lucas's phone buzzed. A message from his private investigator. Found footage from a diner, dated last year. She really did save you, sir. You owe her your life. Lucas stared at the message, heart twisting. No, he muttered. Not owe. Protect. Noah flicked his cigarette into the wind. So we're all in? Adrian nodded. All in. Lucas looked toward the skyline, eyes burning. Then it settled. For Emily Carter and her child, this family goes to war. And by dawn, the most powerful brothers in New York had turned one woman's pain into their personal mission for vengeance. Tyler Briggs sat alone in the dim light of the police station, his face bruised and swollen from the punch Noah had left him. But the officers didn't arrest him. Not yet. There was no official complaint, no witness willing to talk. When he realized that, a smug grin crept across his face. Rich boys think they can scare me, he muttered, lighting a cigarette. Let's see how long they play hero before they ruin themselves. Meanwhile, across the river, the Hale brothers were already 10 steps ahead. Lucas had returned to his penthouse office on Park Avenue, the entire wall made of glass reflecting the Manhattan skyline. He stood over his desk, scrolling through Tyler's file on a MacBook Pro. He's not just a drunk, Lucas said, his tone low. He's being paid. Noah leaned against the window, sipping black coffee from a Tiffany blue cup. I told you someone's behind him. The guy's too broke to survive this long without a backer. Adrian entered with a folder. You're right. I ran a toxicology test on Emily's blood work. She's been given trace doses of sedatives consistent with long-term control. He's been drugging her. Lucas's eyes went dark. How long? Months, Adrian said. She probably thought it was prenatal vitamins. Lucas closed the laptop, rage simmering beneath the surface. Then he didn't just hit her, he tried to erase her. Noah's jaw tightened. So what's the move? Lucas looked out the window at the city lights. We hit where it hurts. His name, his money, his freedom. He turned to his brothers. Noah, leak the gambling debts to the local press. Make it look like he's been stealing from his wife's hospital fund. Adrian, make sure Emily's medical file is protected. I don't want anyone touching her records. Not the police, not the hospital, no one. Already done, Adrian said. Downstairs, Emily woke in her hospital suite. Grace Moreno was changing her IV bag, humming softly to keep her calm. Where am I? Emily asked weakly. In a place where no one can hurt you, Grace said. You're under private protection. The Hales don't do things halfway. Emily blinked. The Hales? Like Hale Capital? Grace nodded with a small smile. You have no idea who you called, do you? Emily shook her head, dazed. They're not just CEOs, Grace continued softly. They're the kind of men who move governments with one phone call. And now, you're under their shield. Before Emily could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think you're safe? You're not. You belong to me. Her heart stopped. She looked up at Grace. terrified. He knows where I am. Grace quickly grabbed the phone and handed it to security. Within minutes, Lucas and Noah were at her door. Lucas took the phone, scanned the message, and said coldly, "He's testing us." "Then let's answer," Noah growled. Lucas pulled out his own phone, typed something, and within seconds, half a dozen private security alerts lit up across his network. "Lock every entrance. Increase surveillance on the hospital perimeter. If he's near, we find him before he breathes twice." Emily gripped the blanket, trembling. "He won't stop." Lucas met her eyes, steady and unwavering. "Then neither will I." Across the Hudson, Tyler stepped out of a taxi near a grimy motel. He checked his phone and saw a dozen missed calls, all from an unlisted number. He smirked. "Finally," he whispered, "time to remind her who owns her." But when he opened the motel room door, a red laser dot appeared on his chest. From across the street, Noah's voice came through the earpiece. "Target located." Lucas's reply was ice cold. "Don't touch him yet. I want him to see what real fear feels like." Because tonight, the Hales weren't businessmen. They were hunters. Rain poured over Manhattan as if the city itself was trying to wash away its sins. Inside the private wing of the Hale Medical Center, Emily Carter lay motionless beneath white hospital sheets, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor echoing in the silence. She was safe, at least for now. Lucas stood by the window, watching raindrops crawl down the glass. He wasn't used to waiting. Every second she remained unconscious was another reminder that he hadn't been fast enough. He'd saved empires, negotiated wars between billion-dollar corporations, but he hadn't been able to stop a drunk with a belt. Noah burst through the door, holding a tablet. "Got something," he said, voice sharp. "Tyler's gambling records. He's been wiring money from an offshore account, one connected to Garrow and Steel Real Estate Group." Lucas turned slowly. "That firm's owned by the Briggs family." "Exactly," Noah said. "His mother, Sophia Briggs, is the CFO. She's the one paying his debts." But get this, 3 months ago, Emily was registered as a temporary contractor under one of their shell companies. Her name's on the books, but she never worked there. Adrian, entering behind Noah, frowned. They used her identity, maybe to funnel money or hide illegal transfers. Tyler was just the puppet. Lucas's eyes darkened. "And she's the scapegoat if anyone catches them." Emily stirred weakly, her hand reaching for her stomach. Adrian was instantly beside her. "Hey, you're safe," he said gently. "It's okay." Her eyelids fluttered. "Where's Tyler?" Lucas stepped forward. "Not here. He won't touch you again." Her voice cracked. "He said, if I ever spoke to anyone, they'd kill me." Noah leaned against the wall. "Then they can try. They'll regret it." Emily's breath quickened. "You don't understand. It's not just him. There's a woman, his mother. She—" Lucas finished the sentence. "Sophia Briggs." Emily's eyes widened. "How do you know?" "We've been watching," Lucas said, "and she's the one we'll go after next." Adrian checked her vitals again. "She needs rest. Her blood pressure's dropping." Emily's voice trembled. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Lucas's expression softened for the first time. "Because a year ago you didn't know me either, and you saved my life anyway." She looked confused until he reached into his coat pocket and held up the silver pen again. "You pressed this against my arm to stop the bleeding," he said quietly. "That night at the diner, you told me, 'Don't fall asleep.' You kept me alive until the ambulance came." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "That was you." Lucas nodded. "Now it's my turn." Just then, Grace Moreno, the nurse, entered the room holding a sealed envelope. "Sir, this just came for you," she said. "No return address." Lucas opened it carefully. Inside was a photo of Emily, taken hours earlier, while she was unconscious. On the back, a message was written in bold red ink. "You're in over your head, Hale. Step back or watch her die." Noah cursed under his breath. "They know where she is." Lucas handed the photo to Adrian. "Move her. Tonight, use the secondary suite. No names, no records. I want the entire floor locked down." Adrian nodded and began preparations. Noah grabbed his phone. "I'll trace the source." But Lucas didn't look afraid. He looked furious. "They've just made a mistake," he said, eyes burning. "They threatened someone under my roof." He turned toward the window, staring out at the storm-swept skyline. "Tomorrow morning," he said, his voice steady, "the name Briggs disappears from New York." And with that vow, the most powerful family in the city had just declared war on their own kind. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of a penthouse overlooking the East River. The skyline shimmered, the glass towers glowing like silent sentinels. Emily Carter woke slowly, her body aching but wrapped in clean linen that smelled of lavender and safety. For a few seconds she thought she was dreaming. Then the door opened and Adrian Hale stepped in carrying a tray with oatmeal, orange juice, and medication. "Good morning," he said gently. "You're at one of our secure residences. You'll stay here until we finish cleaning up the mess outside." Emily struggled to sit up. "I can't stay here," she whispered. "Tyler will find me." Adrian smiled faintly. "He won't. Not here. This building doesn't exist on paper." Before she could respond, the elevator doors opened and Lucas entered, wearing a black suit, coat unbuttoned, his tie loosened from a long night. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in years but was too stubborn to show it. "How's she doing?" he asked Adrian. "Stable," Adrian replied. "But she's scared." Lucas met her eyes. "You have every right to be. But fear is temporary, so is pain." Emily swallowed hard. "And what about him?" Lucas walked to the window, staring out at the glittering Manhattan skyline. "Tyler Briggs is finished, but before I destroy him, I need to know everything." Her fingers clenched the sheet. "What if I don't remember everything?" He turned, voice calm but firm. "Then we'll help you remember." He motioned to Noah, who had just entered with a sleek silver MacBook Pro. Noah set it on the glass table and pulled up a series of surveillance photos. "Recognize any of these?" he asked. Emily's eyes scanned the images. Men in suits, construction sites, offices. Her hand stopped on one picture. A woman in her 50s, perfect hair, pearl necklace, cold eyes. "Her," Emily whispered. "That's her, Sophia Briggs. She used to come by the diner. She'd sit at the back and talk to Tyler in whispers. Once she gave him an envelope and said, 'Make sure she doesn't open her mouth.'" Lucas's jaw tightened. "So it's true." Noah leaned forward. "Sophia's more than CFO. She runs half their underground accounts. She's using Tyler to silence witnesses." Adrian frowned. "Why risk everything over a waitress?" Emily looked away. "Because I saw something." The room fell silent. Lucas moved closer. "What did you see?" Her voice trembled. "One night, a man came into the diner. He was bleeding. Tyler helped drag him to the back room. I thought they were trying to help him. But the next morning there was blood on the floor, and Tyler told me if I ever said a word, I'd end up the same way." Noah swore under his breath. "Murder. That's what they're hiding." Lucas's voice was steel. "Then that's what we expose." He walked to the window again, calling his assistant. "Evan, pull every file tied to Garrow and Steele. Offshore accounts, shell companies, board members. I want a full report by tonight." Emily watched him, still unsure if she was dreaming. "Why are you doing all this? You don't owe me anything." Lucas turned, his gaze softening. "You saved my life once. I owe you peace." She looked down, tears pooling in her eyes. "No one's ever said that to me before." Noah smirked from the doorway. "Get used to it, sweetheart. You've got 3 brothers now, and one of them has a very expensive temper." For the first time in months, Emily laughed. A small, shaky sound that filled the quiet room like a promise. But outside the penthouse, far across the city, Sophia Briggs stood in her glass office on Wall Street, holding a photo of Emily Carter. "Find her," she told her assistant coldly, "before the Hales do." Because the war for one woman's safety had just become a war for survival. The morning light cut through the skyline, glinting off the glass towers of Manhattan. In the penthouse high above the East River, Emily sat by the window wrapped in a cream shawl, staring at the city that had almost forgotten her. For the first time, she could see the world moving. Taxis, coffee carts, joggers by the water, and she realized how long she'd been living in the dark. Lucas Hale stood a few feet away, sleeves rolled up, reviewing documents on his MacBook Pro. The quiet tapping of the keyboard mixed with the faint hum of the city below. Every so often he looked up, his eyes landing on her, protective, deliberate, unreadable. "You're safe here," he said. "No one can reach you without going through 3 security levels." Emily gave a weak smile. "You sound like you're running a fortress." Lucas looked up. "That's exactly what it is." Noah entered, tossing a newspaper onto the table. The headline screamed in bold, "CFO Sophia Briggs linked to money laundering investigation." "Guess what?" Noah said, grinning. "We leaked the first layer. Nothing that ties back to us, but enough to make her sweat." Lucas didn't smile. She'll fight back. People like her always do. Downstairs, Adrian prepared another medical checkup for Emily. He had arranged everything, from prenatal vitamins to private physical therapy, but she still looked pale, restless. "Try to eat," Adrian said softly. "Your body's rebuilding. The baby's heartbeat is strong." Emily nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. "If I tell you what really happened that night at the diner, you'll think I'm crazy." Adrian sat beside her. "Try me." She hesitated. "The man Tyler helped, he wasn't dead when I saw him. He had a briefcase. Tyler opened it. There were documents, stacks of cash, and a USB drive. The next morning, the police came asking about a missing executive from Garrow and Steele. Tyler told me to keep quiet or they'd find me in the river." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "So that's what they're hiding. That drive could destroy the whole company." Before Emily could respond, the penthouse security alarm chimed. A single, low pulse. Not danger yet, but warning. Lucas appeared instantly, phone in hand. "Report." A guard's voice came through the speaker. "Sir, a black SUV has been circling the building for 20 minutes. Plates are unregistered." Lucas's expression hardened. "Sophia's men." He turned to Noah. "Shut down every entrance but the south elevator. Move Emily to the lower suite." Noah nodded, already typing commands on his tablet. Emily stood, fear creeping back. "They found me again, didn't they?" Lucas stepped close, his voice firm but calm. "Let them look. The more they chase you, the easier it is for me to destroy them." "Lucas, what if they hurt someone else?" He looked into her eyes. "Then they'll have to hurt me first." Just then, Grace Moreno entered carrying a sealed evidence bag. "Lucas," she said, "we found this in Emily's old apartment, hidden under a floorboard." Inside was a small silver USB drive. Noah whistled low. Well, look what fate just handed us." Emily froze. "That's it. That's the one from the briefcase." Lucas took the drive carefully, his mind already racing. "If this has what I think it does, Garrow and Steele's entire empire collapses." Noah grinned. "And Sophia Briggs loses everything." Lucas looked at Emily, his voice softer now. "You didn't just survive, Emily. You've become the key to their destruction." Emily shook her head, tears forming. "I never wanted to be part of any of this." Lucas reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. "None of us do. But life doesn't ask permission, it asks for courage." Outside, thunder rolled across the river and the first drops of rain splashed against the glass. Because somewhere downtown, Sophia Briggs had just learned the one woman she tried to erase was still alive and holding her empire's darkest secret. Night fell over Manhattan like a velvet curtain, and the Hale penthouse turned into a war room. Screens glowed, phones buzzed, and the air was thick with tension. The tiny silver USB drive lay in the center of the table like a ticking bomb. Noah leaned forward, spinning it between his fingers. One little stick, and $1 billion company goes up in smoke. Lucas shot him a warning look. "Don't get cocky. We don't know what's on it yet." Emily sat on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, watching silently. She felt small in this glass and steel palace, surrounded by men who commanded cities. She didn't belong here. Yet somehow they were fighting for her. Adrian walked in with a cup of tea and handed it to her. "Drink this. Chamomile helps steady the nerves." "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. I can't believe all this is happening because of me." Lucas turned toward her. "No, Emily, it's happening because of them. You didn't start this war, they did when they hurt you." She looked down, clutching the warm cup. "And now they'll come after you too." Lucas's voice was calm, deadly calm. "They can try." Noah plugged the USB into his MacBook Pro. The screen lit up with encrypted folders, names, bank accounts, offshore transactions, and photos. He typed quickly, breaking through layers of protection until the files opened. "Holy hell," Noah whispered. "Lucas, look at this." On the screen were payment logs showing transfers from Garrow and Steele to fake consulting firms, all linked to Sophia Briggs. There were also police reports, internal memos, even court records, doctored to make certain witnesses disappear. And buried deep within the folders was a video. Lucas clicked it open. The footage was grainy, taken in the back room of a diner. Emily gasped. She recognized it instantly. Tyler was in the frame, holding a briefcase, while Sophia Briggs stood beside him. A man sat tied to a chair, bleeding. Sophia's voice echoed through the speakers, cold and sharp. "You sign those documents, or your wife gets the same treatment." The man refused. Tyler struck him with the back of his gun. Sophia watched, expressionless. Then she turned to Tyler. Clean this up. Make sure no one finds the body. The video ended. Silence. Emily's hands trembled. That's the man I saw. They killed him. They really did. Lucas exhaled, the fury in his eyes like controlled fire. This is enough to bury her for life. Noah smirked. Then what are we waiting for? Let's leak it. Lucas shook his head. Not yet. If we release it now, she'll claim it's fabricated. We need to make her confess. Publicly. Adrian crossed his arms. How? Lucas looked out the window, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. Tomorrow, the Briggs family is hosting their annual charity gala at the Plaza Hotel. Every investor, politician, and reporter will be there. That's where we strike. Emily stared at him in disbelief. You want me there? Yes, Lucas said. You're the proof. You'll walk in as the woman they tried to erase, and we'll make sure every camera sees you. Her breath caught. I can't. I'm not ready. Lucas stepped closer, his voice low but unwavering. Emily, you've survived everything they've thrown at you. You're stronger than any of us. You don't need to be ready, you just need to show up. Adrian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You won't be alone. Noah closed the laptop and smiled grimly. We'll give Manhattan a show it'll never forget. Lucas picked up the USB drive, his thumb pressing into the cold metal. Tomorrow night, the truth comes out. Outside, thunder cracked across the skyline as the rain began again, washing the city clean for what was to come. Because by this time tomorrow, the name Briggs would no longer stand for power. It would stand for fear. The night of the Briggs Foundation Charity Gala arrived with all the glitter and poison of New York's elite. Inside the Plaza Hotel, crystal chandeliers bathed the ballroom in golden light. Waiters moved silently with trays of champagne, and a string quartet played something elegant enough to disguise the tension that hid beneath the silk gowns and tuxedos. Sophia Briggs stood near the grand staircase, her pearls gleaming under the light, a smile fixed perfectly in place. Around her, the city's most powerful investors whispered and laughed, unaware that the woman hosting them had blood on her hands. Across the street, in a suite overlooking the event, the Hale brothers prepared their final move. Lucas adjusted his cufflinks, his reflection sharp against the window. Everything in position? Noah, sitting before a cluster of screens, nodded. Press, live feeds, backup drives, all ready. The second she opens her mouth, we upload the video from the USB to every major outlet. The story will explode before the dessert course. Adrian checked his earpiece. Security teams inside. Emily's car just arrived. Lucas turned toward the door as Emily stepped in. She wore a simple black evening gown that Grace had chosen, elegant but modest, her baby bump hidden beneath the soft folds of fabric. Her hair was tied back, her expression calm but trembling beneath the surface. I shouldn't be here, she whispered. Lucas took her hand gently. You belong here more than anyone in that room. Noah grinned. Time to make the devil sweat. Minutes later, Emily walked into the ballroom. Conversations paused. Faces turned. The photographers near the stage froze, unsure whether to snap or stare. Sophia saw her first. The color drained from her face. Impossible, Sophia hissed under her breath. Emily stopped at the base of the staircase, meeting her gaze across the room. You remember me, she said softly. Sophia recovered her composure, offering a cold smile. I'm sorry, dear, do I know you? Lucas appeared beside Emily, his voice carrying through the hall like thunder. You should. She's the woman your son nearly killed. A wave of shocked whispers rippled through the crowd. Reporters raised their cameras. The orchestra faltered. Sophia's mask cracked. This is a private event. You have no right. Actually, Lucas interrupted, we have every right, because what's about to play on those screens belongs to you. He nodded toward Noah, who hit a key on his laptop. The giant LED display behind the stage flickered, then came to life. The room fell silent as the footage began. Tyler, Sophia, the blood, the threats, the murder. Every word echoed through the ballroom. Clean this up. Make sure no one finds the body. Gasps. A woman dropped her wine glass. Reporters surged forward, phones recording. Sophia lunged toward the stage. Turn that off. That video is fake. But Noah's voice came through the speakers, steady and merciless. The original metadata is verified. Time-stamped, encrypted, authenticated by Hale Media. Try explaining that to the SEC. Security guards moved toward her. Cameras flashed. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. You ruined my life. You made me think I was crazy, but the truth doesn't stay buried forever. Sophia turned on her, eyes blazing. You think this will save you? You have no idea who I am. Lucas took Emily's hand again, pulling her closer. No, Sophia, the world knows who you are now. As police sirens wailed outside, Sophia's carefully built empire began to crumble before her eyes. Guests backed away, murmuring. The donors, the investors, all gone in seconds. Noah leaned toward Lucas, whispering, "Congratulations, brother, you just ended an empire." But Lucas didn't smile. His eyes were on Emily, pale, trembling, holding her stomach. "It's not over yet," he murmured, because across the ballroom a man in a waiter's uniform was watching them closely. Tyler Briggs, alive, furious, and ready to strike. And in that glittering moment of victory, the real danger had just stepped into the room. The ballroom had erupted into chaos. Guests screamed, security guards shouted into radios, and camera flashes turned the room into a storm of light. Sophia Briggs was being handcuffed in front of the crowd, her pearl necklace broken, beads scattering across the marble floor like tears. Lucas stood protectively beside Emily as police officers read Sophia her rights. "You can't do this," she yelled, voice cracking. "You don't know who you're dealing with." "Oh, I do," Lucas said coldly. "A murderer and a liar." For a moment, the war seemed over. Emily's knees almost gave way from relief. Noah grinned and whispered, "That's checkmate." But Lucas didn't smile. His instincts buzzed with unease. The victory had come too easily. "Adrian," he said into his earpiece, "status check? Anyone unaccounted for?" Adrian's reply came with static. "Security sweep in progress. One issue, the catering crew's ID list doesn't match the names we cleared. Someone slipped in." Lucas's blood ran cold. He turned instantly, eyes scanning the crowd. Then he saw him, Tyler Briggs. Disguised in a waiter's tuxedo, face bruised but eyes burning with fury, Tyler was moving toward them through the confusion, one hand hidden under a serving tray. "Emily?" Lucas whispered sharply, pulling her behind him. Too late. Tyler dropped the tray, and in his hand was a gun. "You ruined everything," he shouted, his voice echoing through the ballroom. "You think you can take my life and just walk away?" Guests screamed, ducking behind tables. Sophia screamed from where she was being restrained. "Tyler, don't!" But he wasn't listening. His eyes locked on Emily. "You were supposed to be mine." Lucas stepped forward, calm but lethal. "Put it down, Briggs. You've already lost." Tyler's hand trembled, finger tightening on the trigger. "No, she lost. When I'm done, she's coming with me." Emily's voice cracked. "Please, Tyler, don't do this. You don't have to." "Shut up!" he roared, the gun shaking. And then one deafening shot. But not from Tyler. A second figure had appeared behind him, moving like a shadow. The gun flew from Tyler's hand, clattering to the marble floor. He fell forward, clutching his shoulder. Blood spread across his white shirt. Adrian stepped into the light, holding his own weapon steady. "Medical-grade tranquilizer dart," he said through gritted teeth. "Non-lethal. For now." Security swarmed instantly, pinning Tyler down. The room went deathly quiet except for his ragged screams. Emily's hands covered her mouth. "He's alive?" Lucas nodded grimly. "Alive. For now. He's going to face everything he's done." As police dragged Tyler and Sophia away, Noah exhaled, shaking his head. "You couldn't write this kind of chaos." Lucas turned to Emily, voice soft but steady. "It's over." But Emily didn't answer. Her face went pale, her hand clutching her stomach. "No, it's not." Adrian's expression changed instantly. "She's in labor." The crowd parted as Lucas scooped her into his arms. "Get the car," he barked. "Now." Noah was already on the phone, shouting for a medical team. 15 minutes to the private hospital. "We'll meet them on the way." Outside, the storm had broken. Rain poured over the city, drenching Lucas as he carried Emily down the marble steps. Her breathing was shallow, panicked. "Lucas, I'm scared," she whispered. He tightened his grip. "Don't be. You've survived worse than this. I'm not letting you go now." She closed her eyes, a single tear rolling down her cheek. Promise me the baby will be safe." Lucas leaned close, voice breaking for the first time. "I swear it." The limousine door slammed. Tires screeched, and the city lights blurred into streaks of gold as they sped toward the hospital. Back inside the ballroom, an officer lifted the gun Tyler had dropped. There was another bullet chambered, one that hadn't fired yet. Etched into its casing were 2 words scratched by hand. "For her." Because even after being taken down, the monster's obsession wasn't over. and fate was about to test how far Lucas Hale would go to protect the woman he loved. Rain lashed against the windshield as the black Mercedes tore through the streets of Manhattan. Inside, Emily's breaths came in short, panicked gasps. Her hands clutched her belly, sweat glistening on her pale skin. "Lucas," she whispered weakly, "something's wrong." Lucas Hale held her hand tightly from the back seat, his voice calm even though his pulse thundered. "You're going to be okay. Just breathe for me, Emily. In and out." Adrian, sitting beside the driver, was already on the phone with the emergency team at Hale Medical Center. "We're en route. She's dilating early. Heavy contractions, loss of fluid." His voice stayed steady, but his eyes flicked nervously to the rearview mirror. "If she doesn't deliver soon, we risk fetal distress." Noah gripped the steering wheel, jaw clenched. "Hang on. I'm clearing Fifth Avenue." He blared the horn, swerving past a line of taxis. The city lights flashed across Emily's face in streaks of gold and white. She tried to focus on Lucas's voice, on his hand wrapped around hers. "You're safe," he kept whispering. "You're not alone anymore." Her breathing hitched. You don't have to stay." Lucas's eyes burned. "You saved my life, Emily. You really think I'm walking away now?" Her lips trembled. "You don't even know what love costs." Lucas leaned closer. "Then let me find out." Adrian interrupted sharply. "We're losing time. She's crowning." "Damn it," Noah muttered, slamming the gas pedal. 2 minutes out." Lucas turned to Adrian. "If we don't make it?" Adrian didn't hesitate. "Then I deliver him here." Emily screamed, the pain cutting through the noise of the storm. Lucas's grip tightened. "Look at me," he said. "Don't close your eyes." She did. She looked right into his, and for the first time she saw something there she hadn't felt in years. Safety. Real, unshakable safety. When they arrived, the hospital staff was already waiting at the private entrance. Adrian jumped out first, shouting orders. "Prep OR 3. We need a neonatal team now." Lucas carried Emily out of the car himself. The rain soaked his suit, but he didn't care. Her head rested against his chest, her voice barely a whisper. "Lucas, promise me, if anything happens, protect him." He looked down at her, his voice breaking. "Nothing's gonna happen. You hear me? Nothing." Inside, the sterile white lights of the hospital glared like daylight. The nurses rushed Emily into the operating room, and Lucas followed until Adrian stopped him. "You can't go in there," Adrian said firmly. "Let me do my job." Lucas froze, torn between fury and fear. "If something goes wrong," Adrian cut him off. "You trust me with billions, Lucas. Trust me with her." The door swung shut. Through the glass, Lucas could see the flurry of motion. Doctors moving fast, machines beeping, Emily's body shaking. He pressed a hand against the glass, whispering to himself, "Stay with me, Emily, please." In the waiting room, Noah paced, dripping rainwater onto the marble floor. "She'll be fine," he said under his breath. "She has to be fine." But Lucas said nothing. He stood perfectly still, soaked, eyes fixed on that door. After what felt like hours, the door opened. Adrian emerged, removing his gloves. He looked exhausted and smiling. "She did it," he said softly. "They're both alive." Lucas exhaled so hard his knees nearly buckled. "The baby?" "A boy," Adrian said. "Strong. He's small, but he's a fighter." Lucas didn't wait for permission. He walked into the room. Emily lay pale but breathing, a small bundle resting on her chest. She looked up and smiled weakly. "He's here," she whispered. Lucas sat beside her, brushing damp hair from her face. "You did it." Her eyes filled with tears. "We did." For a long moment, he said nothing. He just looked at her, at the woman who had survived everything and still had the strength to bring life into the world. Outside, the storm finally broke, and dawn began to rise over Manhattan. But even as peace filled that small hospital room, none of them knew that the Briggs family wasn't finished, and someone out there still wanted the truth buried with Emily Carter. The storm outside had calmed, but inside the private suite of Hale Medical Center, the air was still heavy with adrenaline. Emily lay in bed, pale but glowing faintly, her newborn son sleeping against her chest. The soft, rhythmic beep of the monitors was the only sound in the room. For the first time in months, she wasn't afraid. Lucas stood by the window, still in his rain-soaked shirt. His eyes never left her. Every rise and fall of her breathing felt like a silent victory. Adrian, finishing his chart notes, whispered, "She's stable now. Both are strong, but she needs rest, mental and physical. She's been through hell." Noah leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. Hell's not done with her yet, he said grimly. The Briggs name may be destroyed publicly, but money like that doesn't vanish overnight. Adrian frowned. You think Sophia had backup accounts? Noah nodded. And loyal dogs who don't care who signs the check. Lucas turned sharply. I want 24-hour surveillance. No one gets in without clearance, even the janitors. Adrian hesitated. Lucas, she's safe. We can't keep her locked up forever. Lucas's voice hardened. She's not a prisoner. She's under protection. Emily stirred, waking slowly. Her voice was weak but calm. You're arguing again, she murmured. Lucas immediately softened, stepping to her side. Sorry, you should be resting. She smiled faintly. I'm tired of resting. I want to see the sunrise. He opened the blinds. Golden light spilled into the room, washing over the newborn's tiny face. Emily's eyes filled with tears. He looks like hope, she whispered. Lucas smiled for the first time in days. Then let's name him something that means that. Emily thought for a long moment. Ethan, she said softly. It means strength. Lucas nodded. Ethan Hale, it suits him. Noah smirked from the doorway. Careful, brother. The media's already calling her the mystery woman who brought down the Briggs Empire. Add a Hale name and you'll have tabloids camping outside. Emily's smile faded. I don't want fame. I just want to disappear. Lucas sat beside her. Then we'll make that happen. A new name, a new place. You and Ethan deserve peace. But before the words could settle, Grace Moreno rushed into the room, her face pale. Lucas, she said quietly, there's something you need to see. He followed her into the hallway. Grace handed him a sealed envelope marked with the hospital logo. This came through internal mail. No one knows who dropped it off. Lucas tore it open. Inside was a single photo of Emily and Ethan sleeping, taken just hours earlier. On the back, in the same red ink that had haunted him once before, were the words, "You can't protect what was never yours." Lucas's jaw clenched. How the hell did this get inside? Grace shook her head. Security's checking cameras now. Whoever did it knew the system. No alarms triggered. Noah appeared, reading the note over his shoulder. They're watching us again? Lucas exhaled slowly. Not watching. Warning. Back in the room, Emily sensed something was wrong. When Lucas returned, his expression gave him away. Tell me, she said quietly. He hesitated. Just a scare. We've tightened security. Her eyes searched his face. You're lying. Lucas sat on the bed, lowering his voice. Whoever we exposed, it wasn't just the Briggs family. There's someone higher. Someone funding them. Emily froze. So it's not over? No, he said softly. It's just beginning. She looked down at her son, sleeping peacefully in her arms. Then whatever happens next, we fight for him. Lucas reached out, brushing her hair back. And I'll burn the city before I let anyone touch you again. Outside, the morning light faded behind passing clouds. And somewhere deep in the city, a man in a gray suit watched from a cafe window, scrolling through photos of Emily on his phone. Because the moment she brought down the Briggs Empire, she awakened something far darker. And this time it wasn't just revenge, it was war. The quiet hum of the hospital monitors was broken only by the soft coos of the newborn in Emily's arms. Morning light poured gently through the blinds, bathing the room in gold. For the first time in months, peace seemed possible. Lucas stood by the window, his crisp white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, exhaustion written across his face, yet his eyes were soft as he looked at them. He has your eyes, he said, kneeling beside her. Emily smiled faintly. Then he's in trouble already. They both laughed, a fragile sound after so much chaos. Lucas reached out, brushing his thumb against the baby's tiny hand. We'll protect him, I promise. But just as the words left his lips, Adrian entered, his face grave. We have a problem. Lucas straightened instantly. What kind of problem? Adrian handed him a tablet. On the screen was a breaking news banner from a national network. Sophia Briggs' team claims evidence was fabricated. Billionaire Hale brothers under investigation. Emily's breath caught. No, that's impossible. Noah's voice came through the door before his body did. Not impossible, strategic. They're playing dirty. Lucas scanned the article. They're accusing us of doctoring the video, of blackmail, of conspiracy. Adrian nodded grimly. And that's not the worst part. Tyler's out of custody. Emily's face went pale. What? He was bleeding, I saw him. Transferred to a private medical facility, Adrian cut in. Sophia's lawyers argued mental instability and got him moved. But he's gone, Emily. Disappeared. Lucas's jaw tightened. Then this isn't over. Noah crossed his arms. We have the original files, encrypted and time-stamped. They can't twist that. Lucas looked at him sharply. You said that about the last batch. They've got influence, Noah. Judges, media, the whole damn system. We're not just fighting criminals. We're fighting an empire. Emily lowered her gaze, holding her child close. What happens if they come after us again? Lucas turned to her, taking her hand. Then they'll have to go through me first. Adrian's voice was low. You're forgetting, Sophia still has connections on Wall Street. If she launches a counterattack, she could freeze our accounts, bury the Hales in litigation, maybe even turn investors against us. Noah smirked darkly. So we hit back harder. Every story she owns, every investor she manipulates, we expose them all. Lucas's eyes narrowed. No, this time we do it clean. No leaks, no chaos. We do it with proof. Emily whispered. You think you can outsmart her? He met her gaze with quiet fire. I don't think, Emily, I know. Before anyone could respond, Lucas's phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered. A voice, calm, deep, chillingly familiar, came through the line. Mr. Hale, congratulations on the baby. I hope he's doing better than his mother did the night of the gala. Lucas froze. Who is this? The voice chuckled. You know who I am, and you know I don't like losing. The line went dead. Emily stared at him. Was that? Lucas nodded. Tyler? Adrian immediately pulled out his phone. I'll get security doubled. No one in or out without clearance. But Lucas wasn't listening anymore. He looked down at Emily, then at the baby in her arms. He's not after money or revenge anymore, he said quietly. He's after family, ours. Outside the hospital window, a sleek black Mercedes idled across the street. Inside, a man in a dark suit watched the window with cold, patient eyes. In his hand was a photo. Emily holding her newborn, and scrawled beneath it in thick red ink were the words, For every truth you exposed, I'll take one back. And just like that, the victory they thought they had won began to unravel. One heartbeat at a time. Night had returned to New York, and with it, the storm. Lightning slashed across the skyline, illuminating the Hale penthouse like a brief glimpse into a battlefield. Lucas stood alone by the window, his reflection fractured in the glass. He had spent all day trying to trace the photo's source, and came up empty. Whoever had infiltrated the hospital knew how to vanish. Noah paced behind him, phone pressed to his ear. Every surveillance feed was clean, he said. No one on staff fits the description. Whoever dropped that envelope walked right past 3 guards and a biometric scanner. That's not amateur work. Adrian entered, exhaustion carved into his face. Emily's asleep, but she's jumpy. Every sound makes her flinch. Lucas, she can't live like this. Lucas turned, eyes hard. She's alive because I'm paranoid. I'm not apologizing for that. Adrian crossed his arms. And when will she get to live, not just survive? The question hung in the air, heavy and real. For once, Lucas didn't have an answer. Meanwhile, across the city, a sleek black limousine glided through the rain. Inside sat a man in his 50s. Silver hair, flawless suit, the calm authority of someone who owned the very air he breathed. His name was Victor Crane, CEO of Crane Holdings International, the silent partner of Garrow and Steele and the real power behind Sophia Briggs. On the screen before him played a video clip. Emily in her hospital bed, cradling her child. He smirked. So that's the girl who took down my accountant and my launderer. Impressive. Stupid, but impressive. His assistant, a tall woman in a red coat, asked softly, What should we do with her? Victor sipped his scotch. Nothing rash. Fear is more effective than bullets. Leak her location just enough to make the Hales move her again. The more they protect, the more predictable they become. The woman nodded. And the child? Victor's eyes darkened. Every legacy starts with blood. Back in the penthouse, Lucas's phone buzzed. A private alert. He opened the message and froze. On the screen was an email from an encrypted address. Do you really think you can protect her from me? Attached was a live feed, a camera view from somewhere inside the building. Noah looked over his shoulder. That's our hallway. Lucas grabbed the intercom. Lock down the floor, now. The lights flickered. The security system beeped once, then went dead. Adrian pulled his gun from the drawer. Backup generators? Offline, Noah said. They killed the power remotely. Lucas moved fast, sprinting to Emily's suite. She was awake, clutching baby Ethan, eyes wide with fear. Lucas, she whispered. He knelt beside her. Listen to me. No matter what happens, you keep him close. You don't let go. Suddenly the elevator dinged. The sound was soft, almost polite, and chilling. Noah positioned himself by the door, weapon drawn. "We've got company." The doors slid open with a hiss, but instead of men with guns, a small package sat on the elevator floor, wrapped neatly in black paper and tied with a red ribbon. Lucas stepped forward cautiously. He tore it open. Inside was a single item, a pacifier engraved with the name Ethan Hale. Emily's breath caught. How do they know his name? Lucas stared down at the object, fury rising like fire. Because someone inside gave it to them. Adrian's voice was grim. A mole inside our own company. Noah cursed. So what now? Lucas looked at his brothers, then at Emily and the sleeping baby in her arms. His voice dropped to a deadly calm. We stop reacting, we start hunting. He turned toward the window, Manhattan glittering like a chessboard below. Victor Crane wants a war, Lucas said. Then we'll give him one, and I promise, this time we end it on our terms. Manhattan didn't sleep that night. The storm outside had turned to cold mist, blanketing the city in silence. Inside Hale Capital's private tower on Park Avenue, Lucas, Noah, and Adrian gathered around a conference table lit only by the glow of their laptops. Every screen showed the same name, Victor Crane. Noah leaned back in his chair, exhaling sharply. So that's him, the puppet master behind Sophia Briggs, the guy who's been pulling strings since the start. Lucas's jaw tightened. Crane Holdings owns 15 shell companies, all tied to offshore laundering networks. He's got half of Wall Street in his pocket. If we take him down, we're not just ending a man, we're shaking an empire. Adrian rubbed his temple. And he knows it. That's why he's going after Emily and Ethan. She's not just a victim anymore. She's the last loose thread connecting his crimes. Lucas stood, his reflection cold against the glass wall. Then we cut the thread ourselves, on our terms. Noah grinned. What's the play? Lucas slid a USB drive across the table. Crane thinks he's untouchable because he controls the flow of money, so we hit him where it hurts, the market. He clicked the screen, revealing lines of code. This is Operation Black Tide. We freeze every account linked to Crane Holdings by morning. Legal, illegal, it doesn't matter. I'll trigger an algorithm that flags them under federal anti-fraud laws. The SEC will swarm him before breakfast. Adrian frowned. That's risky, Lucas. You'll be exposing Hale Capital too. Lucas met his brother's gaze. Sometimes you have to burn your own house to smoke out the rats. Meanwhile, across town, Victor Crane stood in his office overlooking the Hudson, sipping espresso like a man who already knew he'd won. His assistant handed him a folder. Sir, Hale's moving money. Their internal servers show activity matching federal tagging patterns. Victor smirked. They're trying to bait me. Do you want a counter? She asked. He shook his head. No. Let them play their little game. By morning, I'll have what I need. What's that? He turned toward the window, eyes glinting. Back at the penthouse, Emily woke to the faint hum of rain against the glass. The baby slept beside her, tiny fingers curled around her thumb. For the first time since she'd met Lucas, he wasn't in the room. That scared her more than anything. She slipped out of bed and walked toward the study. Lucas was there, exhausted, tie loosened, eyes red from staring at data streams. He didn't hear her until she spoke softly. Lucas, he looked up. You should be resting. So should you. She approached, resting a hand on his shoulder. You can't fight everyone alone. His voice was low, heavy. I don't know how to stop. Every time I think it's over, someone new comes for you. She smiled faintly, tears glinting in her eyes. Then let them come. Just don't lose yourself trying to protect me. He covered her hand with his. It's too late for that. Noah burst in suddenly, phone in hand. Lucas, Crane's accounts just bounced. He's panicking, dumping assets offshore. Lucas straightened instantly. Good. Keep tracing. When he runs, we'll follow. Adrian's voice came over the intercom. Heads up. We've got movement near the lower entrance. Unmarked van, tinted windows. Lucas moved fast, pulling his gun from the drawer. Get Emily and Ethan to the panic suite now. But before they could react, the building lights flickered, then went out. A voice crackled through the intercom, distorted, calm, taunting. You think you can hunt me, Mr. Hale? The difference between us is simple. You fight for love. I fight for legacy. Lucas's eyes went cold. Then tonight, one of us dies for it. He chambered around and looked at his brothers. Let's end this. Outside, lightning struck the Manhattan skyline as alarms blared across Hale Tower. Because the hunter had just become the hunted, and the final war for Emily Carter had begun. The buildings shook as the power cut completely. The only light came from flashes of lightning splitting the Manhattan sky. Inside Hale Tower, emergency alarms echoed down the marble hallways like screams in the dark. Lucas Hale grabbed a flashlight, his face illuminated in harsh white. Noah, secure the east stairwell. Adrian, get Emily and Ethan to the panic suite. Noah nodded, pulling his weapon, already on it. Emily clutched the baby close as Adrian guided her through the maze-like corridors. Her heart raced with every flicker of light. "What's happening?" she whispered. Adrian's tone was calm but tense. "They've breached the system. The elevators are down. Someone's inside the building." Emily's pulse quickened. "Tyler's gone. Sophia's in jail. Who could it be?" Adrian's eyes hardened. Someone worse. Upstairs, Lucas moved like a ghost through the darkened floor, the beam of his flashlight sweeping over overturned chairs and shattered glass. The security monitors had gone black, replaced by a single message blinking in red across every screen. "Legacy always wins." Noah's voice crackled through the earpiece. "They're cutting us off from the street. There's a team of 6, maybe 7, professional, not hired muscle, ex-private security." Lucas's voice was calm, lethal. "Crane's men." Down in the private wing, Adrian ushered Emily into the fortified panic suite, a room lined with steel and reinforced glass. He keyed the code. "You'll be safe here. This door can't be breached." Emily shook her head, fear in her voice. "What about you?" Adrian managed a faint smile. "I'm not the one they're after." As the door sealed behind him, she could still hear the chaos echoing through the tower, the sounds of her new family fighting for her life. On the top floor, Lucas and Noah cornered one of the intruders, a man in black tactical gear, mask pulled tight. Lucas pinned him to the wall. "Who sent you?" The man smirked. "You already know." Lucas pressed the barrel of his gun to the man's temple. "Where's Crane?" "He's closer than you think." The man lunged suddenly, grabbing the gun. They struggled, a violent crash echoing through the hallway as glass shattered. Noah fired once, clean, precise. The man fell. Noah glanced at his brother. That was too easy. Lucas's expression turned grim. It was a distraction. At that moment, the elevator doors on the far end of the corridor slid open. Out stepped Victor Crane himself, perfectly calm, wearing a charcoal gray suit, rain glistening on his shoulders. "Good evening, gentlemen," he said smoothly. "You've cost me a great deal of money." Lucas aimed his weapon. "You've cost lives." Crane smiled faintly. "Collateral damage. You of all people should understand business." Noah spat. "You call murder business?" Crane's eyes glinted. "Everything has a price, even the woman you're protecting." Lucas stepped closer, rage building behind his composure. "You won't touch her." Crane tilted his head. "Oh, I already have. You really should vet your staff better." At that moment, Lucas's phone buzzed, a security alert. "Unauthorized access, panic suite level." Lucas's blood went cold. "No." Crane's smirk widened. "You see, I don't need to kill you. I just needed you to move your queen off the board." Lucas turned, sprinting toward the stairs. "Adrian, the suite's compromised." Through the earpiece, Adrian's voice came, strained. "One of ours turned, the systems engineer Cooper. He's in the suite." Emily screamed from behind the glass as the traitor pulled a gun. "You should have stayed gone," he hissed. Adrian reached the room just in time to tackle him. A shot rang out. The baby cried. Lucas arrived seconds later, kicking the door open. Adrian was bleeding, the traitor unconscious, Emily shaking but unharmed. Lucas knelt beside his brother. "Stay with me, Adrian." Adrian managed a weak grin. "You always say that like it's optional." Outside, police sirens wailed as backup units surrounded the tower. Crane, watching from the elevator, adjusted his cufflinks and whispered into his earpiece. Phase 2. Because in the war for power and love, every victory comes with a price. And tonight, the Hales had just begun to pay theirs. Rain poured down like liquid steel over the Manhattan skyline. Ambulances and police cars surrounded Hale Tower, their red and blue lights flashing against the storm. Inside, chaos had quieted into something heavier, grief and fury. Adrian Hale lay on a stretcher, pale but conscious, a bandage pressed against his side. "It's a clean wound," he said weakly, trying to joke. "You should see the other guy." Lucas knelt beside him, his shirt soaked in blood. "You're not dying on me." Adrian managed a faint smile. You always say that. And somehow, I keep listening. Noah, pacing nearby, turned sharply toward Lucas. Crane's gone. The van that took him just slipped past the police barricade. Someone high up gave the order to let it through. Lucas stood, fists clenched. He's not escaping. Not this time. Emily, still clutching baby Ethan, stepped forward. Lucas, please. Enough blood, enough pain. You've already saved us. He turned to her, his eyes soft but haunted. As long as Crane's alive, you'll never be safe. She shook her head. Then don't fight him like he fights you. You're better than that. Lucas looked away. I don't feel better. The room fell silent, except for the sound of the rain and the baby's quiet breathing. Noah broke the silence first. We've traced the signal that hacked our system. It came from inside Crane Holdings. If we move now, we can catch him before he leaves the city. Adrian tried to rise. You'll need someone who knows medicine if it goes wrong. Lucas pressed him back down. You're sitting this one out. You've done enough. Adrian smiled faintly. Tell that to the hole in my side. Emily's voice broke through. Lucas, listen to me. She took his hand, her eyes shimmering. If you go out there tonight, you may not come back. Don't let him turn you into what he is. Lucas cupped her face gently. He took too much from you already. From all of us. This isn't revenge, Emily. It's closure. He kissed her forehead softly, then turned to Noah. Get the car. Within minutes, the black Mercedes S-Class sliced through the wet streets of Lower Manhattan. The city blurred past, Times Square lights reflecting on rain-slicked asphalt, steam rising from subway grates. Lucas sat in silence, eyes fixed forward, hands gripping the steering wheel like a man holding on to purpose. Noah checked his tablet. Crane's at Pier 91. He's got a private jet waiting. Security detail of at least 8. Lucas smirked faintly. 8 won't be enough. At the pier, the brothers moved like predators in the dark. The sound of the ocean mixed with the hum of the jet's engines. Men in suits loaded cases into the cargo bay, unaware of the storm about to hit them. Lucas motioned silently. Noah took the left flank. Lucas advanced down the main path. Then a voice echoed across the tarmac. Smooth, mocking. You really couldn't just walk away, could you, Mr. Hale? Victor Crane stepped out from the shadows, flanked by 2 armed guards. Rain glistened on his slicked-back silver hair. You don't understand, do you? You think this is about one woman? She's nothing but collateral in a much larger game. Lucas's voice was low, controlled. You hurt her. You hunted her. That's all I need to know. Crane smiled coldly. She was never the target. You were. She was just the bait to bring the mighty Lucas Hale into the mud. Lucas's jaw tightened. Then let's both get dirty. Before Crane could reply, Noah fired first, a clean shot that shattered the ground near Crane's feet. The guards opened fire, chaos erupting across the pier. Lucas moved fast, taking cover behind a steel crate, returning fire with precision. Noah flanked right, disarming one guard with a single blow. When the smoke cleared, only Crane stood, his weapon aimed directly at Lucas. You can't kill me, Crane sneered. You need me to protect your empire. Lucas stepped forward slowly, rain pouring down his face. I already have everything I need. The gunshot echoed across the harbor. Crane fell, eyes wide, his legacy ending where it began, in the rain. Noah approached cautiously. You okay? Lucas exhaled, lowering his weapon. I am now. As the sirens approached, Lucas looked up at the city skyline. It's over. But somewhere deep down he knew. Peace always comes with a price. Because while one empire had fallen, another had already begun to rise. And this time, the war wasn't about money. It was about love, redemption, and everything they'd nearly lost. The rain finally stopped over Manhattan. Morning light spilled across the skyline, washing away the smoke and chaos of the night before. Down by the harbor, police tape fluttered in the cold wind as officers moved around what was left of Victor Crane's empire. The man who thought himself untouchable was gone, and with him, the shadow that had haunted Emily Carter's life. Lucas Hale stood near the edge of the pier, his clothes soaked, his knuckles bruised. He watched as the coroner's van drove away, carrying Crane's body into the mist. Noah came up beside him, a coffee in hand. You did what you had to, he said quietly. Lucas shook his head. No, I did what I couldn't live without doing. Noah smirked faintly. You sound like Dad. Maybe for once that's not a bad thing. A long silence passed between them before Noah asked, So what now? Lucas looked toward the rising sun. Now, we go home. Back at Hale Medical Center, Emily sat by the window of her private room. The morning light made her skin glow soft and warm. Baby Ethan slept peacefully beside her, tiny fingers wrapped around hers. For the first time in years, she didn't wake to fear, only quiet. Grace entered with a smile. "You have a visitor." Emily looked up just as Lucas stepped in, still wearing the same clothes from the night before. His eyes looked tired, but softer now. She smiled faintly. "You look awful." He chuckled. "Good. I was worried I still looked rich." Emily laughed for the first time in what felt like forever. A real, unbroken laugh that filled the sterile room with warmth. Lucas sat beside her, looking down at Ethan. "He's stronger than I expected," Lucas said. "He takes after you," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, he takes after his mother, the bravest woman I've ever met." Her smile faded slightly. "Is it really over?" Lucas's voice dropped to a whisper. "Crane's gone. His accounts are frozen. His people are scattering. Sophia Briggs took a plea deal. Tyler's in federal custody. It's over." Emily exhaled shakily, as if she'd been holding her breath for months. Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't even know how to live anymore, when I'm not running." Lucas reached for her hand. "Then let me teach you." She looked up at him, uncertain. "Why me, Lucas? You could have anyone. You're you." He smiled softly. "Because you're the only one who ever saw me when I was bleeding on the floor of that diner. Not as a name, not as a bank account, but as a man." Her voice trembled. "And you're the only one who ever made me feel safe again." Lucas leaned in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then maybe we save each other." The world outside seemed to pause. The city that had nearly destroyed them now watched quietly as two broken souls found something worth keeping. Weeks later, the tabloids were calling it the redemption of the Hales. The headlines spoke of corporate heroism and billionaire justice, but the truth was quieter than that. Emily and Ethan had moved into a small cottage outside the city, by the river, surrounded by wildflowers. Lucas visited every weekend, often staying longer than he meant to. Sometimes they said nothing at all, just sat on the porch with coffee, listening to the wind. Noah teased him endlessly. Adrian, recovered and back at the hospital, pretended not to notice. But everyone knew Lucas Hale had finally found something he couldn't buy: peace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lucas stood at the doorway watching Emily rock Ethan to sleep. She looked up and smiled. "You're thinking too much again," he grinned. "Just wondering how I got here." She whispered, "Maybe you were always meant to." He stepped closer, resting his hand over hers. "For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I should be." Outside, fireflies blinked in the fading light, and the air carried the scent of rain and renewal. Because the storm had ended, but what remained wasn't ruin, it was love. Pure, fragile, and finally free. Trelivit content noi. So, my friends, that's how our story ends. You're still here, aren't you? If you've stayed until now, it means something in this story touched your heart. Maybe a quiet reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's always a way to begin again. Emily's journey taught us that pain doesn't define us. What defines us is the courage to rise after being broken. Lucas showed us that love isn't about saving someone, it's about standing beside them when the whole world turns away. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the obstacle is the way. Every wound, every betrayal, every storm is a teacher, guiding us towards strength, compassion, and peace. So tonight, maybe take a breath. Forgive yourself for what you couldn't control. Believe that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means finally choosing to live without fear. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a little hope tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us, because the stories we tell here aren't just about pain or revenge, they're about healing, redemption, and the quiet, powerful courage to love again.